Shout out to your brothers today. Let's celebrate the brothers out there. So now, though, we are on the line with Mazwi Mkhulisi, Programs Manager of the Vumelana Advisory Fund. Now, the Prudhoe community in the Eastern Cape has won a 20-year victory over their land claim following numerous delays. With the support of non-profit organization, the Vumelana Advisory Fund, the Legal Resource Center, the community has finally been restituted of 26 farms claimed under its name. Mazwi, good morning.
Good morning, my brother, and good morning to the Power FM listeners.
Thank you so much for coming through to talk to us. Just quickly, as a bit of background, what have been some of the challenges with the Prudhoe community land claim?
Thank you, Kwena. So the Prudhoe community in the Ngqushwa area in the Eastern Cape has evidence to be one of the communities that have suffered a long wait to have their land restored to them. So typically, the current land claims that are being processed, Kwena, they had to be lodged by December 1998. So you can imagine having to wait for 24 years, literally, to have your land eventually restored to you.
That's a lifetime, eh?
It is a lifetime. And just in terms of some of the challenges that really impacted the realization of the Prudhoe's, restoration of their land, it really had to do with the inability of the Commission to be able to accept its own research report, which were very clear on who the rightful landowners were. However, they, call it whatever, maybe bungling of sorts. The land was restored in 2010 to a wrongful community, a matter that the Prudhoe community challenged through court, supported by the Legal Resource Center. And the matter was eventually resolved by the Constitutional Court in November 2020. So you can imagine, that's a lifetime. I mean, in the process of waiting for the land to be restored, a number of the originally dispossessed households have passed away without realizing the fruits of their aspirations.
So how have some of these challenges been resolved? Yes, guaranteed it took time, and glad that it has been resolved. How have they been resolved?
So, just to give you a picture, in the process during which the courts were still determining who the rightful land-owning community should be, this land has been kept under caretakership. That is, somebody had to be employed to look after the asset because the previous landowner exited the property already at the end of 2017. So this meant that the state had to, amongst other things, pay an amount of about 2 million rand a month to maintain this asset. Remember, we're talking here about an 18-hole golf course, Gary Players brand. We're talking about a holiday resort. It's a huge development. It's on 225 hectares of land. And as you would know, 4 days of not watering a golf course would create millions of damages on that. So the state has had to bear the brunt of servicing this asset since 2017 at a cost of 2 million rand per month. Now, this is a challenge that we believe our facilitation has been able to bring to a halt by making sure that the Prudhoe community, upon receipt of the land, have a plan in terms of how this land will be optimized for its benefit. So our role has really been to make sure that there is a long-term commercial player that will partner with this community to make sure that jobs are created, the facility is rehabilitated and restored, jobs are created, skills are generated, small businesses are also linked. They've got something to hook on here in terms of this anchor project.
And so what are some of the key learnings here, Mazwi, that can be applied particularly to the land reform claims, as we know that in South Africa we still have a long way to go as far as the issue of land?
There are quite a number of lessons, Gwen. I think one thing that really distinguishes the Prudhoe community is the consistency of its leadership. Umpinga, the chairperson, has been, involved in this claim, one would say from day one, together with a small cohort of other leaders, who have really managed to keep the vision intact and not allow themselves to be distracted and hijacked by self-interest. Secondly, it's important for communities to be quick in identifying resourceful alliances that are locally based that can be able to support them. Because if you imagine if it had not been for the likes of the Legal Resource Center based in Grahamstown, holding the hand literally of the Prudhoe community through this journey, arduous journey, to this point where they've not been able to secure a private investor partner. There's just no way. There are no resources enough to be able to support communities through these kind of challenges. But then, just to look at the root causes as well, I think that one of the lessons that we are learning is that the research capacity within the Land Claims Commission is limited. And what then comes out of that are unintended outcomes where wrongful communities are awarded land rights when the rightful communities are not. And these are things that can really scupper our progress towards a fruitful land reform program. And lastly, Gwen, I think that it needs to be said that land reform has to be, a program that has a beginning and an end. We cannot be at this stage still face another 20 or more years with the mooting of a reopening of the land claim to still be realized, to try to realize this dream. The nation needs to be brought, to have its dream of togetherness, realized, and land reform has to be one of those elements. And we need to have more of these cases where collaborative efforts across sectors are brought to bear to make sure that land is restored, but not only that once land is restored, it can actually be brought to productive use so that it can create the kind of socioeconomic impact that it needs to.
And what are some of those issues, Mazwi, that around restitution that still needs to be addressed or resolved in this regard?
So, for the most part, currently the emphasis is on settling land claim. That becomes the main priority currently. And just on that point alone, I think it needs to be said that close to 90% of the land claims, in close to 90% of cases, communities will opt for financial compensation when they are asked how they would like to have their land claim restored. So you've got an option of whether you can have the land that you claimed being restored to you, or to have cash compensation, as equitable redress, for your loss. So one of the factors that we realize that is, for the most part, land claimants will opt for financial compensation. Now, what this brings about, Gwen, is that there could be millions of hectares. I think the last estimate is around 3 million hectares that could actually be ticked in terms of the record to say that this extent of land has been restored. But now our records cannot show that, because those are cases where money was the preferred settlement option. And so it becomes a very easy political game and a claim to always just try to look at the actual number of hectares that have actually exchanged hands, when land reform actually also can be realized through financial compensation. That could have its own challenges, and that could be addressed at another time. But the matter that I wanted just to point out also has to do with the fact that once land has been restored, there is still the remaining expectation that the state should do something to bring capital development, to bring about skills development, to link the land to the market. But the state is limited in its capacity. And this is where, as we are seeing in other sectors like energy, infrastructure, we are seeing that increasingly the role of the private sector is quite paramount if we are going to be able to realize the kind of dreams that we want to realize. So equally in Vumelana's case, our model is predicated on that basis, where we say that it's enough what the state does to acquire and transfer land to the rightful claimant. What should then happen afterwards is to be able to draw in the private sector to partner with successful new landowners, to bring in the capital for development, to bring in the skills and link to market so that development can be realized on land.
So the community private partnerships, as you've just mentioning, and through this partnership, Vumelana was able to also secure $500 million worth of investment funding for the community. Tell us a little bit more about how, briefly, as we wind up the conversation, how the CPP model works.
So, Kwena, the community private partnership model works in this way that if you look at it, in the space of land reform, there are two critical partners that would otherwise not find each other. On the one side, you've got the new landowners who are recipients of valuable assets. I mean, in this case of Fish River, we're talking about 75 million rand worth of an asset that you could sit with and try to find ways to operationalize this with serious limitations if you're not, you don't have, big deep pockets and access to markets. On the other hand, you have an investor that is looking to expand their operations, or they're looking to introduce a new economic hub. Like in this case, in the case of Ngoshua, we're talking about Mahala X, who are linked to Forest Digital, who have had an innovative concept here to develop film studios in the Eastern Cape to compete with the offering that is currently dominated by Cape Town. But what Mahala X needed was an ideal location that would be able to appeal to that industry. And so what you had here was a marriage that, for lack of a better word, one would call it is made in heaven, in the sense that the community has the assets, the investor has the backers, the financiers, and the markets, and all that they wanted was a secure access to a land. And so that is what Vumelana has been able to facilitate here. The overall balance of scales means that the risk, the rewards, and responsibilities are shared in a way that is transparent. So we provide transactional advisors to make sure that the community is protected in terms of not having any risk of losing their land. The investor is secured in making sure that where they invest their immense capital, their rights to see returns on that are secured. So that is what the CPP model entails, Kwena.
Fantastic, Mazwi. We're going to have to leave it there, but thank you so much for coming through to talk to us. I appreciate your time.
Much pleasure. Thanks, Kwena.
Mazwi Mkhulisi, Programs Manager of the Vumelana Advisory Fund. And I mean, quite a breakthrough here. It took years, 20 years plus, and Vixi finally claiming the land following numerous delays with the support of the non-profit organization, Vumelana Advisory Fund, and the Legal Resource Center. The community has finally been restituted of 26 farms claimed under their name. And I mean, also the community private partnership model was able to